Hi, I'm Brandon Grant, Sales and Marketing Director here at QuoteWerks. In this video, we're going to talk about and demonstrate how QuoteWerks Web integrates with Kaseya BMS. Before we get started, there's a couple of keynotes and features we want to discuss. First, QuoteWerks Web is an add-on to QuoteWerks Desktop. This means it will use your existing licensing and features you already have, such as Real-Time, Utilize, and Quote Valley. Additionally, it means that you're able to utilize your existing system settings, security rights, templates, and layouts without having to recreate these for your web users. QuoteWerks Web is also only $10 per user per month. Since it is an add-on, this means you do not have to repurchase a completely new system to take advantage of QuoteWerks Web, and additionally, no one will be forced into using it. You can pick and choose which of your reps will have access to QuoteWerks Web. Another one of the key features of QuoteWerks Web is the utilization of your existing data. This means no migration costs or complicated imports and exports, and no constant syncing required. QuoteWerks Web will tie in directly to your existing QuoteWerks database and let you not only edit existing documents, but create new ones that are also available immediately in QuoteWerks Desktop. You'll also be able to choose how you want to host your QuoteWerks database, whether you'd like to sign up for our database hosting service, or you can host it yourself also. And finally, QuoteWerks Web has a full Kaseya BMS integration, including support for Contacts, Opportunities, Kaseya BMS Quotes, and the Kaseya BMS item lists, and much more. All right, let's get started. So to get started, you'll want to open up your preferred browser and then navigate to na.quoteworks.com. This will bring you into the QuoteWerks Web Login screen. Here you'll add your QuoteWerks tenant account number, your QuoteWerks username, and your QuoteWerks password. Once you've entered in that information, simply click Login to log into QuoteWerks Web. Once your login credentials have been entered, you'll see QuoteWerks Web will begin initializing and loading the homepage. At the top left, you'll see the QuoteWerks navigation panel. This can also be minimized by clicking on the arrow icon there, and that way you'll be able to navigate around QuoteWerks Web more quickly. In the middle of your home screen, you'll see you have the option of starting with a new blank document or open an existing document. You can also start with a new blank quote, order, or invoice, or select from an existing template. We also have the option to open an existing document as well. For our example, we're going to go ahead and just start with a new blank quote. When you click on this, you'll be prompted to give the document a name. So for our example, we're just going to call this our Kaseya example, and then click Create. After the document's been created, you'll see the confirmation messages in the bottom right-hand corner. This will bring you to the QuoteWerks Quote Workbook. You'll see you have access to the QuoteWerks tabs, such as the document items, sold to, shipped to, sale info, notes, customs, and links. You'll also have access to the Quote Valley tab once you've uploaded this document to Quote Valley, if you have a Quote Valley subscription. You'll see we do have some of our toolbar shortcuts as well as our menus up at the very top. On the left-hand side is that navigation panel that we talked about from the home screen. If you click on the documents, that'll bring you to the documents window so you can search for existing documents to open in QuoteWerks Web. You can also click on your products icon, which will display a list of your product databases that you've set up in QuoteWerks. Clicking on the contacts will bring you to the contact lookup window. And then you also have shortcuts to Quote Valley Insight and the Quote Valley dashboard if you have a Quote Valley subscription active. So let's go back to our workbook and click on our Sold to, Shipped to tab. This is how we would typically select a contact if we were in QuoteWerks Desktop. It's going to work very similar in QuoteWerks Web. You can also go to the shortcut of contacts. That'll bring you to the exact same window where you'll be able to look up a Kaseya account by the account name, first name, last name, phone, or email. So for our example, I'm just going to type in Aspire and do my search. This will display my contacts that appear in my search, and I can make my selection simply by highlighting them. You'll be able to pull that contact into the sold to, shipped to, billed to, or all fields. So for our example, we're going to pull this contact across all three fields. If you have multiple addresses set up for that contact, you'll be prompted to select the correct address. So I'll go ahead and select that top one, and we'll do that for our sold to, our ship to, and then also our bill to addresses. Once pulled into your sold to ship to tab, you'll see the confirmation message in the bottom right corner. If we go back to our workbook, we'll see that our contact has successfully been pulled into our sold to ship to tab. So we're ready to start adding items to our document. So we're going to click on our document items window. If you wanted to use the section headers, now is a good time to add those to the document. So we can add section headers by right-clicking and selecting Insert Section Header, and then adding the section header description. So for us, we want to put one for hardware, and then click OK. And we're going to go ahead and add two more. So again, we're going to right-click, choose Insert Section Header, and do one for services. And finally, one last one we'll do for optional items. Now that we have our section headers on the document, we're ready to start adding items to our QuoteWerks document. To do that, you can click on your products icon, you can click on the products lookup window, or you can click on the products shortcut on the navigation panel. This will bring you to the product lookup window where you can see a list of your databases on the left-hand side. So if we wanted to search for items from our Kaseya product list, we can select our Kaseya BMS products list. We'll type in Cisco for the description and then click Find. And that'll return back any items that begin with the word Cisco. So we'll go ahead and we'll make one of our selections here, and we can add this to our document. This will bring up the Add Item Assistant that allows you to make changes. So if you wanted to update the quantity, adjust any of the pricing, check price history for this item, you can do that as well. This will also allow you to add it into the proper section. So this is a hardware item, so we want to go ahead and add it to our hardware section and click Add. And we can repeat this step as many times as needed. So if we wanted to select a couple more items here for our document, so let's go ahead and add two more, adjust the quantity, and we're going to say again, section hardware, and one more, we can do that. We also have access to the Kaseya services list. So if you have your services set up in Kaseya BMS, we can pull those in as well. So if we want to do a show all for those, we can say, okay, let's go ahead and select two of those services to add to our document. We'll add it under our services section here. And we'll add this one under our services as well. And then those will be added in our services also. You can always toggle back to the workbook by clicking on the shortcut here, and that'll bring you back to your workbook just to make sure everything is where you need it. So last thing I want to do is pull some items from Utilize for my optional items. So I'm going to click on my Utilize shortcut up at the top, and this will bring me to the Utilize window. And this is going to work just like you have it set up in QuoteWerks Desktop. So you can search by item description, manufacturer, part number, keyword, however you want to look for an item, you can do that. So let's go ahead and search for a trip light switch, and then I want to limit to my distributors and also only items that have been in stock within the last 24 hours. And then I'll go ahead and hit search. So this is going to return quite a few results. What I want to do is kind of narrow these down. So if I click on my switch boxes here, that will narrow my search down to only 133 items instead of the thousands of items that appeared. And then I can further reduce my search results by using one of these features and attributes options. So if we go into, let's say, our product family here and select Net Commander, that'll limit my results down to 10, which is much more manageable for reviewing the different options that I want to add to my document. And then it's as simple as selecting one of the items to get your pricing and availability. So if you click on one of the items, this will actually go out to your distributors and get pricing and availability with the ones that you've set up inside of QuoteWerks. So we can see here the pricing from D&H, Synex, Ingram Micro, and Tech Data. Tech Data has the best price in stock. I have one available, but we can also get it from the vendor direct as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll select it from Tech Data. That will also bring up the Add Item Assistant. Say we only need one of them. We want to mark it up 20%, so that looks good. And we're going to add this as an optional item and click Add. You'll see, just like the desktop, you do have access to the Accessories tab, Similar Items, and Upsell Items tab as well. If you want to review another item, we can scroll down. Maybe we'll select this item here and retrieve our pricing and availability for this item as well. And again here, it looks like Tech Data does have it in stock quickly check. So they do have it in vendor direct stock, so we'll go ahead and we'll source it from tech data and say we actually need 3 of them this time. And then we'll select optional items and go ahead and add it to the document. So now that item has been added to my document. The Utilize search in QuoteWerks Web does have some other functionality. You'll see that there's an option to quickly add it to the document, which will just add it to your quote without looking up the real-time pricing and availability. So if you want to mark it up manually, you can do that. We also have the option of adding items to your workspace. This is a great way to save items for other searches. So if you're doing multiple quotes and you're going to be quoting a lot of the same items, instead of having to restart your search each time, you can actually save items to your workspace, and you'll see they'll show up in the workspace tab here, and you can come back and add those items to your quote, and everything will be saved in your workspace until you log out of QuoteWerks Web. The compare functionality is here as well, so if you want to compare multiple items against each other, we can do that. So you can actually add those items here, and we'll create that table for you that we do in QuoteWerks Desktop. And then finally, we have our favorites. So if you want to add items to your favorites folder, you can do that so that you can access those items later. Whether you log out of QuoteWerks Web or not, the favorites will be saved permanently. So the workspace is more like a temporary save, but the favorites is going to be saved permanently. Okay, so if we switch back to our workbook here, we'll see that our items have been added to the document as needed. So we have our hardware items, our services, and our optional items. We do have drag and drop, so if you want to maneuver items around the document, you can easily change those and move things around so it makes more sense. Additionally, one of the cool features in QuoteWerks Web is the ability to edit an item's descriptions by using the description panel. So if we toggle this button here in our grid toolbar, you can actually edit an item's description, and if you make a change, we can then click on to the next one and go through and make any adjustments. So it's a really quick way to go through and make adjustments to your documents. And when you're done making changes to those descriptions, you can simply toggle that off. We also have the item panel available as well, and this will show you all of the columns that you have available in your QuoteWerks Document Items tab. If you uncheck this option, this will display them in the same order you have it here, and you can search for a specific column. So if you wanted to adjust something in a column, maybe the item type wasn't put in properly, or you wanted to add custom text field or anything like that, you can go ahead and start typing in the field, narrow down your search, and then add in a note or whatever text you need to. And then once you're done, you can go ahead and close out of there as well, and that'll save that text in there that you've added. So once you've made those adjustments, we can also edit line attributes. So we have our 2 optional items here, so we want to go ahead and select those, right click, choose edit line attributes, and say yes, these items are optional, but they are selected. So we do want them included in the quote, and we do want them to carry over to Kaseya. So after making all your changes, if everything looks good, you can go ahead and save the document. When you save it, you're going to see the window will look very similar. So you're going to have your document number has already been assigned, the status will be set as open, and then we can start our integration with Kaseya. So we can just choose how we want to integrate with Kaseya BMS. In this example, we want to go ahead and create the opportunity, create the link document, create the follow-up activity, and create a one-off activity. And we'll go ahead and click OK. So the first thing we'll see is the Kaseya BMS opportunity window. So we have the option of creating a new one and setting the Kaseya opportunity name. So for our example, it's going to use our document name, but if you want to adjust it, you can. You can also set the type. So if we want to say this is going to be infrastructure, location is going to be main, the sales rep, that's myself, and then the close date, which is typically set for 30 days from now. You can change that if you like. The rating, the status, probability, lead source, and you can put any notes in there if you'd like. If everything looks good, go ahead and click on save, and that'll create that opportunity in Kaseya BMS. In addition to creating the opportunity, you can also schedule a follow-up activity. So if you want to set maybe a call for yourself, and you're going to assign it to yourself, specify a time and say, a week from now, this actually looks good. We're going to go ahead and follow up on this activity. We can do that. We can even add notes, say, follow up on quote sent on 10/8, and then click save. The one-off activity is the exact same thing as the follow-up activity, it just allows you to do more than one. So if you wanted to set a reminder for yourself, or maybe there's multiple steps involved that you need to do something else, you can set another reminder also. For this example, I'm just going to go ahead and hit cancel. So now that we've saved our document in QuoteWerks Web and we've created the opportunity and the follow-up activities in Kaseya BMS, we can go ahead and view that information. If you click on the links tab in QuoteWerks Web, you'll see we have shortcuts to the sold to, shipped to, and billed to contacts, the opportunity, the activity, and also the quote in Kaseya BMS. So let's go ahead and click on the view opportunity. And this will take us to the opportunity that we just created. So we'll see all our information has carried over. And if we scroll down, we'll also see there's a quotation. So we actually do create the Kaseya quote for you as well. This is where all the line item information will appear. And if you scroll down, you can actually view all the line items that have been added to the Kaseya BMS quote and all the totals and information there. So everything looks good, so we can close out of there. You'll also see there's the attachments tab. This is where we attach a copy of the QuoteWerks document. So it's a nice little shortcut back to QuoteWerks where you can click on this and that would actually open up that document in QuoteWerks. So everything looks good there. So let's go ahead and go back to QuoteWerks Web. And we're getting ready to deliver our document now. So we're gonna click on the deliver icon here. And this will bring up our deliver window, so we can select our cover page if we want to include one, our layout, so we'll say we're going to have that one, and our summary page. And then if you have any additional documentation such as like a support agreement that you want to include, anything like that, we can attach that as well. So click on print preview, and this will actually open it up in a PDF preview so you can view this document. If you don't see it immediately, just check your tabs. You might have it blocked since it is a PDF, and sometimes Chrome or your other web browsers might block the initial PDF from previewing, but you should see it here. And we can make sure everything looks good. So everything looks good. We have all our line item information in there, and then our solution summary page, and then our support agreement. So everything looks good. So we can close out of here, and we can go ahead and we can upload this document to Quote Valet. See, there's our PDF. So we'll go ahead and upload this to Quote Valet. And then we can preview it before we send it to the client just to make sure everything looks good. So we have our prepared for, who it was prepared by, and then we have our copy of our PDF, all our line item information, and we scroll down, everything looks good. So we want to go back to QuoteWerks Web, choose send email. This will open up the email window, and our contact will be populated automatically for you. And then if you want to CC or BCC other users, you can do that. If you want to select from an existing template, you can do that as well. You'll have your default text in here, and then simply click send to send this out to the customer. So once the document's been emailed to your client, we can go ahead and close out of this window here to go back to the page. They can electronically accept it through Quote Valet, and once that happens, you'll be able to click on the Quote Valet tab and see any of the activity just like you would in QuoteWerks Desktop. Once it's been accepted, you'll notice the acceptance information here. So if we go to File, Convert to Order, just to convert it manually, this is really important because this is going to do a few things in QuoteWerks. It's going to update the quote as an order, but it's also going to prompt you to update the opportunity in Kaseya as one. So this will open up the close existing Kaseya BMS opportunity and mark it as one. You'll see here the status will be updated to 1, probability to 100%, and you can edit any of the other fields as needed. If you want to add a description at this point as well, you have that option now also, and simply click Save to update that opportunity in Kaseya BMS. And that's it. It's that easy to start using the QuoteWerks web integration with Kaseya BMS in your installation. For more information, or if you have any additional questions, please feel free to give us a call or send us an email. Thanks for watching.